Good evening. I will now call to order the Chesterfield Township Planning Commission meeting on August 20th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. I will call the roll. Mr. Miller is here. Mr. LaBelle?
Here.
Mr. Demink?
Here.
Mr. Leonard?
Here.
Mr. Renault?
Here.
Mr. Jaworski?
Here.
Mr. Klanowski?
Here.
Mr. Carr?
Here.
Mr. Brokart?
Here.
All are present. Approval of the minutes of prior meeting. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of June 18th, 2024.
Support.
Motion by Miller, supported by Mr. Renault. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the agenda. I will make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. Supported by Mr. Brokart. Motion by Mr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments, 3-minute time limit on anything you would like to speak on. Nah, just turn the mic off. So we,
Turn it off? You're not the first one, but you know, one time, well, I better not say anything because it used up my 3 minutes. But anyways, Gary Ginnernock on behalf of the Roseals, they're 23-mile road, 25-acre piece. We were here before on the 18th of June and provided you some information as to a text amendment because your ordinance says if you have a gas station, it has to be at an intersection of 2 roads. That one isn't. It's at the interchange in essence of I-94 and 23-mile road M29. There's a movement afoot both at the federal, state, and local level, county level, to have energy corridor of I-94 from Chicago to Port Huron and then on the 401 into Canada. Part of their suggestion is that you have an energy facility within 5 miles of an interchange. We suggested a text amendment to 1 mile, and if it's at an interchange of I-94 in one of those 5 roads where there's already existing interchanges, that you could build this energy facility. And part of it is behind the idea of alternative energy for cars and trucks, propane propulsion, electric, and other forms of energy other than just gasoline and diesel. We've gotten some information from the county. I made a couple copies of some emails between our group and the county for distribution to you. I assume that you can take a look at this. One of our questions or proposals is we want to get before the Planning Commission or the Township Board to do the text amendment so that we can proceed. Generally, gas stations, energy centers are a special land use requirement, and we need to move forward. We've been working on this for several months. We had a phone conference with people at the county planning department concerning this, and they think it's a good idea. My clients, as the sellers, do. Andy's here on behalf, the attorney for the buyer. Jamie is the buyer for the facility. They've worked on engineering and design concepts. Historically, M29 at one time was 2 lanes. 6970 got built out to 5. It was rebuilt again. But from the beginning, the interchange at 23 and I-94 was a complete cloverleaf. So our project is on 2 state roads that have progressed over time. And I remember on this piece of property in my youth, the farmers used horses to cultivate their property. So we've come a long ways from that energy source to this. So we would like some input, or if we have to talk to the administration as to a process to move this forward. Thank you. You want to say anything?
I will just add to Mr. Gendernalik, my name's Andrew Goldberg. I'm the attorney for the prospective purchaser of the parcel of land of which Mr. Gendernalik represents the buyer. We'll also want to add one item. We've also had conversations with Macomb County on the economic impact to Chesterfield Township based on the number of employees and the compensation. So we have that information available to you if that is of interest to the Planning Commission and how it will generally impact the Chesterfield community with this development.
Thank you.
And I can give to Jonathan or Chris the site to that information because you can get it online. They send it to us online. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. I'm a familiar face at this point. My name is Mark Abraham, and today I'm again asking the Planning Commission, or the Planning Board, to consider using the Liquor Control Commission's method of measuring and calculating buffered distances for cannabis facilities. The distance would not change. I know nobody would be in favor of anything other than the number 1,000. We're on 1,000, and I completely understand and agree with that. However, I would like to ask that we would consider changing the method to align with what the Liquor Control Commission does. It would stay at 1,000 feet. To do this the existing ordinance would not have to be reopened for discussion. As the previous attorney just mentioned, this is something that can be done with a text amendment. And it's very simple. I've talked to a couple of different people about this already. The ordinance doesn't need to get opened. It just is a 1 or 2 sentence amendment to what we already have, a good ordinance. I just would like to see that little piece of it change. This method of measuring would only affect businesses where the buffered use distance is the difference in the street is in the opposite direction. So in other words, when we look at Jars, okay, Jars was the first to open. Jars is facing the residential buffer across the street, so they just moved their building further back on that same property. That wouldn't change anything if they didn't have that property. This measuring tool only affects businesses that are one facing one way, one facing another way on opposite streets. It would be such a rare incidence that would ever change anything. I think that it's reasonable to ask. It may not seem like it, but our site at the southeast corner of Chesterfield is one of the least populated areas in Chesterfield. Our neighbors are, to the east, 22 acres of wetlands, to the north, 56 acres of woods, to the west, 45,000 square foot buildings, which I know the Planning Commission is against having for provisioning, even though it's in the green zone, and to the south is Selfridge. It's remote within a busy area. When I first approached the board, I think I was a little overzealous. I think Mr. Palin might agree with me. I was hoping that we would, be able to try to move on something sooner. And I understand now, what the idea was. It was new, and time had to go by. Well, now as I stand here today, it's been a year, and a year is a reasonable amount of time. So today, again, I'm asking the board kindly to please reconsider using a very minor text amendment to our already great ordinance, and I would like for you to consider using the text amendment to align our method of measuring the buffered uses to that of the Liquor Control Commission. Sorry, I stuttered there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Palin, do you want to discuss this matter now or at the end? Okay, so tonight we have one public hearing. I will make a motion to open the public hearing. Support. Motion by Mr. Miller, support by Mr. Renault. All in favor? Aye. This is Take 5 Oil Change, Site Plan Number 2024-10, Special Land Use, C2, 57 acres, north side of 23 Mile Road, west of Gratiot Ave. Parcel ID is 1509173510008, and the address is 27375 23 Mile Road. Ms. Osborne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So tonight, the Planning Commission is tasked with reviewing the plans and deciding whether or not the site plan meets all the zoning ordinance standards and their intent. I'll remind everyone that there's really two parts to tonight's public hearing. We have the site plan that's in front of us, and then also the review of the special land use request. For the public, I'll let you know the kind of the process. The public's permitted to provide comments on the site plan and the proposed use for Planning Commission consideration. This is a time for the Planning Commission to listen to your comments, and the response to your comments may or may not be made after the public hearing is closed and discussion returns up here. So I'll first review my letter. Really it starts at the bottom of page 2. So the applicant is proposing to build a 1,294 square foot oil change facility on the undeveloped portion of the subject parcel. The parcel is 1.87 acres and is a non-conforming parcel within the C2 district, and it's within a larger shopping center development. The parcel currently includes a bank that has a drive-through and has access to 23 Mile and Gratiot. The bottom of page 2 onto page 3 indicates the district standards. The district standards here for this site have all been met. They're all compliant. And at the bottom of page 3, you'll see the use standards that apply to auto repair and service centers, and those are also all compliant. Page 4 starts the site standards. And so here's where the Planning Commission may have a couple additional things to discuss. So the site, the building has a brick veneer for the majority of the building. It's about 75% on all the facades, which meets the minimum requirements for your building material standards. The building has 2 garage-style doors as well. I will note that the applicant has provided updated color elevations and material calculations, and there's just a couple discrepancies that can be rectified administratively, so we'll work with the applicant on that. In terms of parking, the applicant has provided sufficient parking per the ordinance requirements. There are 8 spaces and 7 are required. All of the dimensions of the parking spaces and maneuvering lanes meet the ordinance requirements. The applicant has provided 2 bicycle parking spaces as required. We just ask that the applicant confirm the site key numbering as just to clarify and confirm that that's on the plans. In terms of vehicular ingress and egress, there are currently 3 ways to come in and out of the site. One's to the shopping center to the northeast, and 2 are internal to the parcel to the southwest. We suggest that the Planning Commission discuss circulation if there are any concerns with that being the case with the 3 drives. The site also includes a drive-through. All of the zoning ordinance standards for drive-throughs have been met with this proposal, but the the Planning Commission may wish to discuss what may happen if demand exceeds the stacking space. There's currently 12 stacking spaces proposed for the site. I'm now at the top of page 5, and there's some additional regulations related to fast food restaurants that apply here since there is a drive-through, and all of those have been met with the exception of the Planning Commission's approval that the facility is aesthetically compatible in design and appearance with other buildings and uses in the shopping center. So that's just something for you to discuss and raise any concerns you may have. The proposal includes bollards. In particular, there are 4 red bollards that are proposed, 2 sets on each side of the bay doors. These red bollards do not meet the requirements for earth tones, and so the Planning Commission may wish to discuss with the applicant what can be done for the color of those. And then as an administrative note, we just need to know the distance the bollards are from the wall to ensure compliance. The site includes an off-street loading and unloading area that meets the ordinance standards, and has also identified some places for pedestrian circulation, including a 6-foot wide sidewalk that runs between the parking lot and the building. There are no screening requirements for the site, and the applicant has met all the standards for tree preservation. At the top of page 6, I start talking about landscaping standards. The general landscaping standards have been met. In terms of the parking lot standards, we noted in our letter that there was a deficiency of 1 parking lot tree. Tonight I spoke with the applicant and Mr. LaBelle. He's got an updated landscape plan that needs to be sent to the township, but it does show a second landscape tree in that frontage that would make this plan compliant. I jumped to that was parking if I could talk tonight, parking lot landscaping. And then moving into the frontage landscaping, the applicant currently has 4 trees that are existing in the area between the development area and, between the drive that goes around the development area and Gratiot. There's like a little green belt there. There's 4 trees that are located in there that they're proposing for the screening. It's really up to Planning Commission to determine if that meets the intent of the standards for screening, since it's not on the development parcel itself, but it does screen the site well from Gratiot. No new sidewalks are being proposed. All the lighting standards are met with the exception of 1. The proposed lighting is 20 feet tall, and the ordinance allows for either 25 feet tall or the height of the building, whichever is less. In this case, the height of the building is only 19 feet 10 inches, and so there's a 2-inch discrepancy there. The Planning Commission has the ability to waive that requirement and allow the 20-foot tall light poles if they would like. And then finally, at the bottom of page 6, I mentioned trash receptacles. The trash receptacle is located in the southwest corner of the site, 6 feet tall, made of precision CMU block. And it's got double gates that are metal with vinyl slats and screened by vegetation. The dumpster enclosure is painted, which is not permitted per the ordinance. So that's something the Planning Commission may wish to discuss with the applicant. And possibly also the location, given where it is located in relation to the drive-through. That completes my review. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Is the applicant here and like to address the board?
Thank you, committee members. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Let me tell you a little bit about Driven Brands. They currently own 400 car washes and 900 oil changes throughout the United States. They started in New Orleans in 1984 as Rapid Oil Change, and they became publicly traded in 2001. They're also established a charitable foundation in 2012. They raise over $1.5 million annually. They support 40 children's hospitals nationwide, in addition to supporting veterans by supporting the Operation Homefront. They also support Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and Cystic Fibrosis Canada. And the shop itself is not going to be your typical automotive shop. When people think of automotive shops, they think about the noise, they think about parts, tires stacked outside, cars parked overnight. This is going to have none of that. So everything is going to be contained within the building, and there's going to be no storage of anything outside. In fact, they don't even use power tools. Everything's hand tools, and so it's very quiet. The only noise that's coming from it is really going to be the bell when people drive in. The trash enclosure, I think the intent of that is to match the building, which is intended to be a simulated brick fiber Nichiha, and so they can certainly match that with the trash enclosure. I know there was intent to paint some of the trim, but the majority of the face is going to be natural brick. They also employ locally, so they're going to have probably 10 employees in the site, and probably 4 to 5 at any given time. The hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 9 to 5 on Sunday, and those hours can certainly be adjusted at the board's discretion. The oil change is, the oil itself is contained within, industrial grade containers. No danger of anything spilling. Any type of spills will be maybe a few drops on the floor that gets tracked by a shoe. There's a mop sink that runs to an oil water separator before it discharges into the sewer. Again, that's going to be very minor. And going back to the noise, they intend to have a sign that says honk for good service. This can easily be removed. Given where it is, it's not near residential areas, so that may not be much of an issue. I know there was a concern about the traffic generated. We've got 2 oil bays and about 10-15 minutes per oil change, so you're looking at maybe 8 cars an hour. I believe they told us that the average was 40 to 50 cars a day, and the busiest time is going to be on Saturday. So it's going to be much, much less than what you would get from like a fast food drive-through, which would generate hundreds of cars a day, so that'll be alleviated. There was also some concern about the access, the 3 access. We can, make arrangements for to either close one of them or to make an exit only or a no left turn. We've done similar accommodations in the past. So, anybody have any questions?
Moment, is anybody in the public like to speak?
Certainly.
Just as a safety note and the bollard colored thing, most engineers that I deal with or building owners, they prefer yellow because they feel it stands out much more to the motorists. And by way of illustration, they're not bollards, but at the New Baltimore Post Office on 23 Mile Road, their bumper blocks are bigger than normal bumper blocks, and they're all painted yellow. And they're there kind of to protect the building, but also so that people see that yellow color when they get out of their car, they don't trip over them. But so I think you should give discretion to the builder to put the color in that they feel goes with their facility. And the earth tone versus yellow, I think yellow is a better deal.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? If not, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Second. We have a motion by Mr. Miller, supported by Mr. Demink. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I'll bring it back to the commission.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Just to get clarification, Jonathan. So are we reviewing both for special land use approval and for site plan approval? Or is it just special land use today?
Yeah, they are tied together.
Okay, so we're doing both. So-
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Thank you. Mr. Demink, you want to go first?
Looking at the plan, definitely getting congested in that corner, that's for sure when I was looking at the diagram. Really not sure about it, I gotta do some thought on it. Between the bank, Myers gas station and everything else there. That corner's getting busier and busier. I'm not sure where I am on this one right now. I'm here with the other board members decide.
Thank you. Mr. Brokart?
No problem bricking the dumpster enclosure, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah.
And how firm are you with earth tones on the ballards? I mean, are you okay with that or no?
No, that's fine. We'll put whatever you guys ask for. I think we initially had them red, which is kind of closer to the earth tones than yellow, just for safety, but, I mean, we can certainly make them whatever color you like.
I don't have a problem with a 2-inch lighting discrepancy at 20 feet, so I'm okay for now. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Renaud?
Yes, first I want to start by thanking you for, in your submission, by listing out the requirements for the special land use in Chesterfield and addressing each and every one of them. We rarely get it that complete, so thank you. But the one item that I do have some questions on is actually the seventh one, with regards to the site layout and traffic patterns. The one part that concerns me would be your driveway on what we would call probably the northeast portion of the parcel. Because it's so close to Gratiot, with people exiting from Meyer onto Gratiot Avenue there, cars do stack up. And my problem is, if you have 3 or 4 cars stacked, which is not unusual at that place, at that location, and then someone's coming in off of Gratiot, and they want to turn left, and all of a sudden they can't because it's blocked. Now you're stopping people from going into the store and going out. So can anything be done with relocating that particular driveway, maybe further to the west, because I think that would be a distinct issue.
Sure, yeah, I actually had a discussion with a couple of the members here about maybe placing no left turn signs. I don't think that would necessarily keep people from, as they're entering, to try to turn left in there because they wouldn't see it from the street, you know, because it's the driveway for the Myers Shopping Center. One option could be just to close that driveway off, because we do have 2 other driveways on the other side.
That may be a solution, but yeah, I would think you seriously need to consider that, because if that was open to traffic turning in, that would be a problem.
Yeah, that wouldn't affect our business movement at all.
All right, that's all for me, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carr?
Yeah, I have a few things. So I saw the radius study for the garbage pickup, which that helped. That was good. My question though is for deliveries. I assume, what are the deliveries of all the materials that are coming in? What do they come in on? How are they delivered? What size is the truck? I mean, is it a 53-footer? Is it a box truck?
No, it's usually a box truck. They don't necessarily need tractor trailers to move through there, so it's typically 24-foot box trucks, I believe it is.
And I assume deliveries are off hours?
Off hours, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because our loading area is actually the place where the queuing area comes into the bay.
Yeah,
so
that's why I was asking.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask to get clarification on that.
Of course.
So that gets me back to that entrance off of that southwest corner. I didn't see, I see directional arrows. I don't see anything in regards to signage, but how are you going to keep people from turning into that southwest entrance? To me, it was pretty confusing. Are you going to have like "Do not enter" signs on?
Oh, yes.
But I don't see any of that.
Yeah, that'll be on the...
even arrows or something, or like a red hash mark that kind of goes, maybe like where the curb and gutter is, you just put, I don't know.
Yeah.
And especially if you're going to consider removing the northeast entrance, because there is a stack-up issue to what Ms. Renault was saying there. I mean, there is going to be a stack-up issue, that's Myers, and that, if you're ever trying to make a turn out of there, their cars are stacked up way beyond where you're at. So, it kind of gets people around. If you eliminate it or don't eliminate it, it's either going to be blocked or not usable, which means people are going to come around, and then somehow they got to be directed to actually the southeast entrance, which would be the only one that really can come in and out. So you're going to add signage, because there's nothing on here that tells me what you're doing.
No, there's not a lot in the site plan as far as signage, but we will have a complete signage package that'll include do not enter, one way, no left turn, no right turn.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to have to be detailed out. Regards to bollards, my position, I've always been flexible with colors. In industrial applications, yellow is correct. Yellow is the standard safety. Typically because, we're not industrial here, that's why we like the earth tones. But what I wanted to make sure we clarify is that it can't be painted. It is supposed to be some type of a cover that goes over that, like a sleeve.
Like a plastic
Correct.
PVC
Yeah,
vinyl?
so I
Okay.
wanted to make sure we're clear, because right now you have it painted and it can't be painted.
No, we
It
can
has
certainly
to be a
accommodate
sleeve.
that. We've done that in other shops.
Yeah, so I'm just saying your details have to be adjusted and changed for that. So 1 for the color and 2 for the type of material. So make sure that gets addressed. The other thing is, I noticed your engineer, although stamped his Michigan stamp on there, it looks like they're from Texas. And I just wanted to point out also with the bollard detail that that's not the frost depth in the state of Michigan. You only have it to 3 foot. State of Michigan is 42 inches. So it goes 42 inches plus another 6 inches for concrete, so it's actually a 48-inch deep bollard, not a 36-inch. So, you know, he just references like frost depth kind of thing, but his detail specifically says 3 foot, and that's not frost depth here, so that needs to be adjusted as well.
Okay.
The bike rack, I assume, you don't have the layout up, but I assume that's the bike rack?
Yeah.
Okay, because it doesn't say, okay, so the bike rack, I know by ordinance it's required, you know, in this case, obviously it'd be for employees that want to ride their bikes. So I assume the idea is from a pedestrian circulation on the site, the idea is that they would just ride their bikes in the roadway with the cars.
As it stands.
Yeah, as it stands.
We can certainly provide
Yeah.
additional markings and,
Yeah,
you
just,
know,
that's
things
my only
off-site.
thing, right? It's just
Yeah.
that because if you're truly queued up, and it's a busy day on a Saturday, right? And you got an employee coming and going and people are trying to get in and out of there. You know, we usually, like in other developments, like gas stations, we've had them like hatch like lines on the, you know, for crossing like the parking lot. Just again, just to highlight that, you know, so you're kind of creating some type of vehicular pedestrian separation. You know, I mean, obviously we can't stop bad drivers, but, you know, you try to do what we can. So I would encourage you to take a look at that because we don't want to promote somebody just zigzagging, especially say people are trying to queue out of Myers, people are trying to come into your place, and then you got a guy around a bike. You know, it's, it definitely is a safety hazard that we're creating, so I think that needs to be looked at.
Okay. I was definitely hoping to get some feedback from you as far as circulation and things that we
Yeah.
want to do off-site, maybe additional crosswalks or,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my biggest thing was, like I said, I agreed with Ms. Renault, was just to stack up, because we all live here, we've all been to Myers, and that's tough. And then was just that southwest corner, because I could see people turning in there, especially if they don't see a queue, they're just gonna zip right in there versus going around, and I think it just needs to be clarified. Building elevations, I noticed, I gotta go to that one now, because I'm on civil. I noticed that, is it the earth tone colors that we're looking at? Let me get to the elevations. Just because I noticed that there was this like bluish cream color, and then there's like another set of elevations, and obviously I don't want the first ones. Okay, yeah, I just. Yeah, so it's this one versus that one.
yeah, those aren't going to be used, those are old.
Okay, but they're in our packet, right? So that's why I'm saying, I just want to make sure we're clear that if we do a motion today, Mr. LaBelle, just want to make sure we got the right elevations. Okay, yeah, because that's important, because the first ones, I would never want to get an oil change there.
Certainly.
So, but the building itself is, you know, is nice. I didn't have an issue with your materials. And then, I know usually the dumpsters is Mr. LaBelle's specialty, but I was gonna note that too, that it was painted black. So we typically like it to be the same material as the building, so that
I'm not-
will have to be addressed.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened. I don't know if it was just the
Yeah.
print or the print production. They typically don't paint black.
Yeah. No, I know most places don't want you to,
No,
to paint. It's-
the intent is to match the building with the
Yeah.
natural brick.
Yeah, correct. I mean, otherwise, I didn't see an issue with the special land use. I feel that they comply with the 8, and that would be my site plan comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jaworski?
Yeah, I just want to confirm a couple questions. The old oil, you mentioned that would be contained within the building? 100%, no
In containers.
outside, no by the dumpster?
Nope.
So it's just really the building as it stands visually and no outside storage, great. This really isn't related to the site plan or the special land use, but you selected this site. Are you purchasing or leasing? Are you going to build the building?
The intent is to lease it. We
Okay.
did have a lease parcel or a lease plat. They're currently in the process of subdividing it.
Okay,
I'm not sure if they're planning on maintaining, leasing, or purchasing it, but
okay.
it will be subdivided.
So I just have to ask this question because I know it's out there and the public is talking about it in my ear constantly and on Facebook. They're saying, what is the need for another oil change? So obviously you own 400 car wash and oil changes
Throughout the US, yeah.
throughout the US. I mean, what is your future forecast? Is there a need here in Chesterfield for an oil change?
They've done some analysis on this, and in fact, there were a few others that they had planned that just weren't feasible or would just be in the way or not be efficient, that they ended up just taking off the board. This one, they feel like is in a good market for it, and they feel that the public will benefit from it.
Well, I know it's in a great location. It's probably one of the busier locations in Chesterfield. I don't see traffic as being a major issue. I mean, 8 cars maximum an hour. I mean,
And what's nice about that is because everything's so close together, it'll minimize the amount of driving that people do to run their errands. They can pretty
Right.
much take care of everything in one area.
But going into the market forecast, I mean, everybody's talking electric vehicles. There's going to be a need for oil changes, 10, 20. I mean, you're going to be in business. You're going to maintain a great-looking building and be a good public servant or
Oh, yeah.
service to the public. Okay.
And I'm
thank
sure
you.
they'll adapt to the changing climate with, with electric vehicles coming into the market and taking over. Of course, they'll still have some gas-powered vehicles that, people love their classics. But I imagine that they have a plan to kind of acclimate that moving
Okay.
forward.
Yeah, my whole issue is just make sure it's a good-looking building that's situated in the right spot and going to serve the folks of Chesterfield.
Thank you. Mr. Klinowski?
Yeah, I agree with the fellow planners on the changes that are needed, especially that ingress egress to the northeast. So with that, I think it looks workable, looks good.
Thank you, Ms.
Our intent with that entrance was just to provide cross-access, because I know a lot of the townships and communities like to have cross-access into other, into the neighboring shopping centers, and that was our intent with that, but it's certainly not needed for the amount of traffic that we have.
Mr. Leonard?
Yeah, I just wanted to be real clear on the, sorry, I just wanted to be real clear on the color, that you had said earth tone, so I scrolled down and then in the very bottom of this one, attachment, it does have what looks to be earth tone with red bollards. Is that the one that you're planning on?
That's what we intended
But
to
the
use. Yeah.
bollards might not be red, they might be some other color, but that's the color scheme. Got it,
We'll
okay.
make them whatever color you like. We're just trying to think of.
No, I was looking at the brick and the stone and everything,
Okay,
so
gotcha.
the bollards,
how it goes together.
that'll get worked out. All right, that's all I had, thank you.
All of my questions have been addressed. The only comment that I'd like to make is, we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly five items that need to be cleared, that need to be addressed. I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with making a decision this evening.
Okay.
That's my only comment. Thank you.
May I say something? And just because you had mentioned, I think of all of them, I think they're pretty easy to do, but I think our biggest, I just would probably reinforce is probably your circulation, and that's why I specifically, one of my first questions was your signage approach, because like, for instance, I agree that through traffic is a good idea, but then maybe that northeast, and again, I can't tell you what to do, but maybe that northeast, it stays, but you have do not enter signs, kind of like you're gonna do on the southwest, right? Because just saying it, so that's exit only, right? Because that's fine, right? Because someone can queue to make a right-hand turn to make a right onto 23, but what we don't want is the people making lefts, trying to get in there and bogging up traffic onto, because 23 is just way too busy, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I know personally, I wouldn't be very comfortable approving anything today without seeing some type of understanding of how your traffic flow is going to be, because I don't know how administratively, there's enough information just on that alone. That's all. That would be my only reinforcing.
Thank you. My opinion is, most people that come into that oil change
are gonna come in off of 23 Mile and turn right, because nobody turns left into Myers off of Gratiot. So most of the traffic will come in from the other way, I think.
Coming at 23, oh, you're saying they'll go, well, it just depends. If they're on 23 mile, they're not gonna go past it to go right. They're gonna turn.
No, but they won't be turning left into, off of Gratiot.
Oh, yeah, no, that's.
Yeah, so,
And another option is we could, on Gratiot Avenue, we could always put a sign that says no, take 5 access, and maybe have a sign directing them down the street. I mean, that's just throwing it out there, because if we put do not enter signs on the driveway, it's be hard to see that from Gratiot if they're pulling in until it's.
any other comments from the commissioners? Mr. Palin?
Your typical procedure is to postpone anyways after you close the public hearing, so I don't think it would be anything out of the ordinary. You would just be following your normal rules. I think the applicant has some direction, and, if the public hearing were to remain open for the special land use, you would have to, postpone it to a certain date, but if you were to close the public hearing tonight, you could give the applicant ample time and postpone for, typically do up to 6 meetings, however you want. They can come back anytime during that time frame and do it that way.
Would it be possible to have conditional approval based on those criteria?
Well, you know where I stand with the voting tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, do you want to poll the commissioners? But if it's okay with the rest of you, I'd like to make a motion to postpone making a decision up to 6 meetings. That'll give the applicant time to.
You gotta close the public hearing first.
I'm sorry?
You gotta close the public hearing first.
I did.
He did.
Oh, you,
Well, he already closed the public hearing. It'll give the applicant time to make the adjustments, to update the drawings, and to get to go back and talk to the rest of your engineers and your folks to see how you want to handle that northeast entrance. I'm not opposed to signage. I like you closing it off, but I'm sitting here thinking about how you would get in and out of there then. It may impede customers from getting into your site. So go back and talk to your group, see what you think, and then when you do come back, we'll certainly discuss it and get you on your way.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. LaBelle, supported by Mr. Miller. All in favor to postpone? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Regular agenda, there is none. Presentations, reports, and discussions. We want to talk about the interest on looking into the marijuana ordinance and interest into looking into the gas station ordinance. Any?
Mr. Chairman, I would just take this chance, the commission is aware of what they're asking for. They've each come to a couple of meetings. It is the planning commission's decision. So you can go about it how you want. If you want to talk about it during your individual comments, if there is desired action from the planning commission, I think it would be appropriate to make a motion directing that to be undertaken. You could start with a draft or discussion formally on the agenda. But at this point, with no direction from the commission, it's just kind of been at a standstill. So I don't know if you want to discuss that in your comments and then go from there.
Thank you. I think we should put it on as an agenda item to address all of them items, maybe at the next meeting, with something in writing that you could put together.
Well, that's what we'd be looking for from direction for the commission. Do you want to see drafts of language for what they're asking for? Do you want to see?
Yeah, that would be the best thing.
Yeah, and I would say, Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd say probably in a motion for each one of them, what you want brought back to the commission.
So let's chat about that for a second.
Is this
And-
the time we talk, or we go on to the next item?
No, we could talk. Yeah, let's talk about it. Mr. Jaworski?
Okay, so we've got two different subjects or topics that are bringing before the planning commission, regardless of the nature of the topic. So they come to us requesting that we add something to the agenda to change the language that's currently in place. How does that work?
So it is a zoning ordinance, so
Right.
the zoning ordinance process for an amendment is a public, it's drafted by the commission, it's a public hearing by the planning commission, and then a recommendation to the township board, and the township board has final approval. Typically, when you have a proposed text amendment, it's done one of two ways. It's either a request by the planning commission to begin an amendment, or it's a direction from the township board to look at an amendment to an ordinance. So we're at the stage right now where we've had members of the public come in, or future developers, or whatever you want to call it, and, you know, proposed, hey, we want to do something, a variance isn't the right route, and your ordinance doesn't allow it, but we think there's room, so we're asking the commission to consider making that text amendment. So now we'd be at the stage where the planning commission says, yes, we're interested, so we're gonna make a motion to bring a draft forward, or make it clear, no, we're not interested, we're happy with what we got. But, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay, so we're taking the subject off the table, and doesn't matter if it's marijuana or a gas station.
Correct.
So we can choose which ones we want to entertain and which ones we don't?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Klanowski?
Well, as far as the marijuana, I would like to see what that change would look like, because we worked pretty hard to keep that 1,000 feet. And I'd like to see what that change would look like on paper on that one.
When you say on paper, are you talking about the two sentences that?
Yeah, whatever language is included in that change, that's what I want to see.
So proposed
So the draft, as you say, maybe a draft of what it would look like, that would be helpful. You know, and then we can determine that from there, if we want to even look at that, you know. So that, on that one. The gas station, well, usually they're on corners for a reason. You know, that's ingress, egress, and you know, fire suppression. So I don't know if that one would be one we'd want to change or not. I just don't know on that one. That one, again, I'd like to see what it would look like, but I'm a little bit hesitant on that one.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard?
Yeah, I agree with the two on my right, that I think we need to, if we're gonna look at it, we need to see it in writing, and then figure out if we wanna act on it or not. But the conversation isn't defined like it would be if it was in writing.
Thank you. Mr. LaBelle?
As far as changing the ordinance, the one that we worked so hard on, the cannabis ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this is just an isolated circumstance. It's not across the board, where it's coming up in other instances. This is just one person, one isolated incidence. Again, I'd like to see why would we need to change something because of one instance? It's working elsewhere. I think we have 4 licenses now in the township. There's 4 places that are coming in. There's 26 Mile Road. Is there 5 now?
I think there's
5.
at least in process.
It's working for 5, but we've got this one instance where it doesn't work because there's an opportunity. And again, I'd like to see why we would need to make a change if it doesn't warrant changing for the broad interest of Chesterfield Township. As far as the energy goes, I don't have a problem with, you know, changing the language on that. And I'd like to see what exactly it's going to state before I make any decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carr?
I pretty much echo Mr. LaBelle. On the cannabis thing, that was pretty much identical. I mean, there are sites that work. There's already been sites, it's been proven. I think it's hard to open up, our ordinance in regards to, we did develop that over a long period of time, and we got public comments, and so that one I have a little harder time understanding, again, just because there's, sites that don't fit, and it's just the way it works. In regards to the energy, yeah, I'm not opposed to it as well. I know I know by where I grew up in East Detroit, I remember driving by, going to visit my mom one day, and there's a huge facility on the north side of 10 Mile Road that's in the middle of, used to be all residential. And now they built this big monstrosity, although I don't know if I want to see that in the middle of, our thoroughfares. But I'm definitely open to discussion. I mean, I think that there are places where it could fit tastefully and not be too large of a burden on our infrastructure. I mean, my hesitation with 23 Mile Road is just, if you're talking about attracting tractor trailers and things of that nature, that has its own issues that need to be understood because there's residential all around there, especially where they want to put it. Again, I think there's things that need to be worked out. And also, you're going to have all those tractor trailers trying to make a left on 23 Mile Road, which, I mean, that's a nightmare. So I'm not sure how that would work as well, but I'm definitely open to that conversation. If we open up that, then that ordinance or that language would have to be pretty tight to identify the type of roads we would allow it to be on, like the size of the type of the road, the throughput of the vehicles and things of that nature, because I wouldn't want to just put it on any street. So that would be my thoughts.
Yeah, I think my fellow commissioners have covered most of it, though. On the cannabis issue, I don't know, I'm kind of the opinion that we're not looking to change the 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet is 1,000 feet. What we're looking to do is standardize how the measurements work. And if we already have the Liquor Control Board, which is already detailing how to measure for one type of controlled substance, why wouldn't we want to potentially look at using the exact same measurement for simplicity's sake? Why have one measurement for this and one measurement for another? I see not the applicant, but the proposal that was put in front of us. I could see where that would make sense, but again, I would want to see the exact language that we'd be looking at, because you need that to make an informed decision. And as far as the energy corridor, I'm all for it. Again, would like to see the wording, but I think it would be a nice addition to the township, actually. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Brokart.
When it comes to the energy part, somebody mentioned the economic impact and I would love to see those details, because I don't personally see economic impact. I'd love to read something, see some data that would impress me. So if you could share that, that'd be wonderful. I'd also think it's fair to say, if you want something changed, give us the exact words. And this goes for the marijuana issue as well. If you want us to change something, I don't want to see hand waving. I want to see the exact language. And then once we read the language and we know what those words mean, it'll be easy for us to say thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll go right across the table. So I think it's fair to ask for both of those. But that economic impact, I'm not sure, guys. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Demink?
Some interesting questions. The energy one, see where that goes. In regards to the cannabis, I think I'll stay mute on that one. Better off, since my days are numbered up here. And after the last election, you guys know what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to say it, but you know where I'm going with it. And it's interesting to see when certain things come up and you follow things on other websites on funding, and that's all I'll say. And
see what happens. But you guys did the work on it, like I say, my days are numbered. And I think I said at the last board meeting, I'm fine with the outcome of the election. I have no problems with it. In fact, I'm going into full retirement. I retired from my police job 2 weeks ago after 47 and a half years. So I'm up here till November 20th, and then I want to enjoy life. And it's been a pleasure working with you guys, and I'll work with you till the 20th of November. But you guys made a lot of decisions over the 4 years I've been up here with you. I think you've really put your nose to the grindstone, and whatever decisions you gentlemen decide, I will be fine with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Mr. Renault and Mr. LaBelle. So, what do we do now?
If you want to make a motion to bring a discussion draft back on both of those things, we can have it for you at the upcoming meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one more comment. Ms. Osborne, is this something that the Givels-Webster can help us with?
Sure,
You know,
we'd be happy to.
You know, so that we can have discussion?
Sure.
And, because I'm sure that, I shouldn't say I'm sure, you may have ran across this in the past with the energy facilities. And of course, we know what your standings are. Cannabis, you certainly help us a lot.
Yep, actually, I was messaging Jill, and she said we can look at it, so.
Okay, so if we can put that on our agenda, I think that would be, at least, give these gentlemen a chance, or give them an opportunity to hear what we all think once we know exactly what we're looking at.
Nick, just to be perfectly, I just want to figure this out. So we vote on two different things. Whether we want to entertain these drafts is yes or no, and then hear them is another date, correct?
Yeah. We just want to make a motion to look at the proposals of the marijuana and of the gas station.
Yeah, I think just some motion to have a discussion draft.
Okay.
Okay. Do that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to have a draft written and giving us making an item on an agenda in the future meetings.
We have a motion by Mr. LaBelle, supported by Mr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And now, in the public hearing, we have one letter opposing the oil change place. And also, we have to discuss the Michigan planning in September. If anybody wants to go to that. They should check in with Jonathan, because there are only a limited number of funds available. So, it's in Grand Rapids.
Well, what are the dates?
The dates are September 25th through the 27th. Yeah, so get in touch with Jonathan for that. And then individual comments from commissioners. Mr. Demink?
I've already said what I have to
Okay.
say for the night.
Mr. Brokart?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Brokart?
I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Renault?
I am set for the evening, thank you.
Mr. Carr?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Jaworski?
I talked enough tonight. Nothing from me.
Mr. Klinowski?
Nothing from me.
Mr. Leonard?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. LaBelle?
Looking for volunteers for pre-planning, Mr. Leonard and Mr. Renault. And then also, I would certainly encourage everyone to attend the seminar. It's really worthwhile. I've gone to a couple of them, and I'm really appreciative that I've been able to. And I'd like to go this one too, but I was at the last one. Jim and I went to the last one, and I'm sure we're at the bottom of the list. But if there is room for me, I'd like to go again, because there's just a tremendous amount of information given, and it's really worth your while.
Planners have anything?
Nope, just reiterating,
Okay.
it'd be great to see you at the conference. Jill and I will be there.
Okay. With With nothing else, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:58. Support. We have a motion by Mr. Miller, supported by Mr. Renault. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?